We've been talking all week about scaling up and scaling down. And now we're going to talk about probably the most important topic in the whole week, knowing when. Because if you do it at the wrong time, who knows what could happen? If you do it at the right time, who knows what could happen? We're going to talk about what could happen, who knows, and more, all on episode 884 of today's Antidote.
Stay tuned for today's Antidote, brought to you by the Renegade Success Network. Today's Antidote features a healthy dose of thought-provoking insights and information for business owners, entrepreneurs, leaders, and nonprofit professionals. Each day since March of 2020, this program has offered that one thing to help you continue on your own unique pathway to success. And now, Renegades, we bring you Bob Graham and Tom Brush.
Whoa. Sorry about that. Got a little feedback.
Okay.
Good morning, Tom.
Good morning. Do you want to finish your thing or you're good?
I'm good.
Okay. I'm not sure exactly what to say.
About what?
Your introduction.
Why? Did I say something wrong?
Well, you just used two words that I choose almost never to use.
I know.
Fascinating that you chose to use them.
I knew you'd say that. I could see it coming.
Yes. And I don't think it as wrong. It's just interesting. That's all.
Well, you've got to quantify it, right?
No.
No? Okay. All right.
Well,
I guess we'll find out. That's part of our discussion today, folks, on today's Antidote with Tom and Bob.
You want to keep going or you want me to take over?
No, you can go. I know it's been a couple days. You haven't had the opportunity, and I know you'll get rusty if you don't do it.
Yeah, that's what I'm concerned about. All right, everyone. Good morning and welcome to today's Antidote, our daily broadcast and podcast. Each week, Bob and I dive into a topic. As Bob mentioned, we're talking all week about scaling. And today we're going to focus a little bit on knowing when. So as we break that down, if you have thoughts or ideas that you would like to share, please feel free to put them in the comments, because we know that'll add value to our show. And we are live, so we will incorporate that into the conversation, most likely. There have been a few comments that have been posted that we have not. So just saying. And at the completion of that conversation, Bob and I will each offer our one thing, our today's antidote, that thing that we hope will help you figure out. If you might be stuck, confused, uncertain, really just not sure what to do next, we will hope that this will provide you with that thing that helps you move forward, take your next step along your own unique pathway to success. And of course, if you have a one thing, something that you would like to share as a part of that, please feel free to put it in the comments as well. Because there might be somebody out there who people have been telling them this all along, and yet they haven't really heard it. And maybe the way you share it will be the first time that they do actually hear it and have a breakthrough that they have been looking for. So please share your value. Before we get into that conversation, though, each morning Bob and I share our celebrations. So Bob, what are you celebrating today?
So I had a weird interaction with the neighbor this morning.
Okay.
I was going downstairs to get something out of my car, and it was about 6:15, and the person said to me, "Are you on TV?" And I said, they're down below so they're below the penthouse. So of course they're always dreaming of being in the penthouse, looking up to the penthouse. And they said, "Are you on TV?" And I said, "No, why? What are you talking about?" And they said, "Oh, I hear it. It sounds like you're on TV sometimes." I said, "Oh, I do a podcast in the morning." And this is an older person, so I had to explain what that all was. And she's like, "And do you have like big cameras and lights?" I said, "It's not like a TV studio. There are some lights and there is a camera, but it's all on my desk from my computer." And she's like, "Oh, sometime I need to come up and see what it looks like. I'd be fascinated to watch. So I might have a live studio guest one day."
Not sure what to do with that. That's interesting.
I thought you'd like that.
Yeah, fascinating.
I did that with another podcast one time. We had a live studio audience. for
How'd
having
it go?
It was great. It was really great. We had about 20 people, and they cheered, and we played to the audience. It was a lot of fun.
Maybe in the penthouse we could set a studio up and have all of the your surrounding neighbors join us for a live show once.
That's it. Or we could feature Sam Hunt, who came running today when your voice was.
Wow, really?
He likes you. I know you don't like cats, but he likes you a lot.
I didn't say I don't like cats. Never said that. Just I'm allergic to them. So
okay, all right.
And they don't. It's not the same for me as with a dog. It's different.
Okay. So what are you celebrating today?
What am I celebrating today? I'm celebrating that. Yeah, caught me off guard. I don't know why. We do this every morning. Sometimes
this is my favorite.
My celebration today is that there are people who are willing to do things even though they know they could be challenging.
Okay.
That they're willing to go out and try to do something, even though they know it might be difficult. So this weekend, we have a lacrosse tournament that I'm assigning for girls lacrosse. And we're in Dover, Delaware, and we're on a location where there are 12 turf fields that are pretty open. In the temperatures the next 3 days, I think the highs are 96, 94, 96. And so knowing that.
And the turf fields, it'll feel like 20 degrees more, right?
At least, especially if
they retain the heat really well.
And it's multiple days like that. And I don't think the nights are supposed to be much cooler. And so they are willing to come out and do that. And obviously they get paid to do that. And it still takes a toll overall. Fortunately, the tournament organizers have tried to adjust some of the time. So they're earlier in the morning and later in the afternoon. And still, it'll be warm and hot. And so I'm appreciative of the fact, and celebrating the fact that people are willing to do that when they could easily say, why would I want to do that and stay home?
Well, it sounds like you should be chugging some water every 5 minutes in preparation.
But trying to do that.
And some dill pickle juice, I hear.
People do that. I do like a dill pickle, and I don't know. The thought of drinking that to me,
I crave dill pickle juice sometimes. Legitimately, yeah. And I'll drink, half a cup of it.
Really?
I think it's just my, I haven't had enough salt in my diet. And you feel better pretty quickly afterwards. I can see where it would help if you were doing athletic endeavors.
There are people who swear by it. I'm like, okay. It's just weird because it's like they actually bring the can that the pickles were in. And I often wonder, did they eat all of those pickles, or
of course
they just take them out and then.
And by the way, isn't weird an adjective?
I don't know. Maybe
it is, because you described it as weird. So it's interesting that you'll allow adjectives when they meet your criteria that you want to convey something, but you won't let me. I feel like there's an adjectival double standard.
Well, sometimes, as most people, if anyone who's listened to this would know.
Well, Meredith's with us, and she says liquid IV works too.
Is that a drink, or is that like you've got to have a needle and stick it in your arm and go from that?
All right. Yeah. I don't know. I'm trying to look up liquid IV. I assume.
Maybe Meredith will help us out. Meredith is one of those people. She's not working this weekend, but is one of those people.
I kind of figured.
Helps us out with that. So
liquid IV is it looks like it's a powder that you put in liquid.
Ah, yes.
Yes. So, yeah, faster hydration than water alone. And a great tasting electrolyte drink mix powered by cellular transport technology, which is a registered trademark. And by the way, if you folks at Cellular Transport Technology hear this and want to be our sponsor, we'd love to talk to you.
Yes. And thank you, Meredith, for sharing that.
Here she goes. She adds, it's like powdered Gatorade, but so much better. Now she's got me craving it.
There you go. You never thought that would happen because of our viewers, listeners' comments, huh?
I'll have to order some. Yeah.
You're fascinated, huh?
I am.
All right, cool. So should we talk more about our topic?
Sure. I started things, so why don't you jump in, because you seem to take issue with some of the words I used in my opening.
I just, I'm not sure I think one of the issue I took, if I took an issue, I don't know, I just found it interesting, different, is, that's, I think, one of the biggest challenges. We think that we're going to get one of those results. You said right or wrong, that we don't know when's the right time or when's the wrong time, or when's the results are going to be. And I think those are some of the reasons that lead to the obstacles, which we talked about yesterday, of why people maybe don't scale in their business or in their organization. And, that I think is one of the challenges of our topic today, of knowing when. Just like many other actions that you take, it's hard to know because you have this perception or perspective around what you think the outcome is going to be, what the results are going to be. Or actually, even maybe more challenging is when it is you expect that that's what the outcome will be. And, and I think that, as we talk about so often, we can't control all of that. And so the concept of knowing when becomes challenging to tell anyone, so even as a business coach or consultant, if someone says, hey, what's the magic formula for scaling? And I probably would have to be I'm not sure there is one.
Right. I would agree with that.
Or that there are millions, billions, all based on our own unique situation, kind of what is real for us in the moment. And then, figuring that out based on our knowledge, experience, and perspective as we try to decide what that magic moment might be. And I think that's where the challenge lies, is it's another action, it's another step that someone would take without knowing, like we do with almost every step, exactly what the results are going to be.
And there are cases where you could be scaling to get bigger and realize in the process that you need to get smaller, and vice versa.
Sure.
It's not a one size fits all, as you said. And I think it's also a lot of unknowns, right? That you try to know, and you try to go, okay, well, the market supports this, the economy supports this, people's opinions support this, everything makes sense, in as much as you can get something that makes sense. But then you try it and you realize maybe not, or maybe yes. And I think, I hate to say luck plays a role, but sometimes I think luck plays a role in things. If you what was the show? Oh, Ted Lasso TV show came out right as COVID started. And that was, it was something that people could rally around. It just caught fire like that. Bob Dylan released an album on 9/11. Didn't do so well. Tough time to release an album. I mean, the guy planned that album for like 3 years. They promoted it for 9/11. Just one of those fluky things that people weren't going to buy records that next week, and that it didn't do real well because of that. And so everything that he had figured out, his fine staff figured out, didn't work because an external force. Yeah.
Right. Well, and I think it's interesting, the word luck. As you were talking, I was trying
I was going to discuss luck, because I think that's a big part of this discussion, right? Because when you know when, you can have all the factors line up. Oh, it's perfect. The economy supports this. I've done my preliminary research. I've done a focus group. I've got everything lined up. I've got it all ready to go. We've got the right price. Everything's perfect. Boom. And you put it out in the market. And one thing you do, new Coke fails. And Liquid IV succeeds. Again, Liquid IV, if you'd like to sponsor our program, I'm doing everything in my power to help you out.
You're really excited about this.
We apparently have a lot of officials too, and they need a beverage of choice. Uh-oh, someone's calling you. You want to take that call during the program? Go ahead. This will be fun.
No, we're okay, I think. Yeah, well, and I don't know really what luck means. Because what is lucky? It's just a circumstance that happens that you determine to be to your benefit, I guess, or if you're unlucky, not to your benefit. Yet I also think that's a momentary thing. Some people might say that, yeah, they were really lucky and they won the lottery immediately. And for a while they're like, oh, this is awesome. And then they're like, maybe it's not what I thought it was going to be.
Right.
And, now everybody and their brother is reaching out for them for money. There's all sorts of other issues to deal with. And they may at the end be like, what I thought was luck really has been, quote unquote, now judged as unlucky. And so I think it's an interesting thing that it's about luck. And I'm not sure that I don't know. Can I say this?
Well, you heard that definition of luck, right? That it's preparation meets opportunity. And if you think about that really, I like that definition. You prepared for something and it connected when the opportunity arrived.
I'm almost going to say that you stopped worrying about results because you can't control any of that. Even if you're prepared and even if an opportunity strikes, it doesn't mean that the results are going to be what you expect. And they are going to change, as I like to say all the time. At given time, results are going to change.
You don't say that all the time. No way, Tom. You don't say results change all the time. I mean, 98% of the time. Overtime. Okay.
Overtime, yes.
Okay.
So, I mean, I think that's the.
So the answer to when you should scale is we have no idea.
No, I'm not sure that I would offer that.
Okay. So help me zero in on something here.
Well, I think that the only answer in my mind about knowing when is you choosing to make a decision. Is choosing to say, hey, you know what, given what I know, I am going to decide that this is what's going to happen. I have no idea what the results are going to be, and I don't control them. Yet I have done what I can to believe that this is the time to do that. That I have given it some thought, that I've considered the opportunities and the obstacles, and based on that, make a decision and take an action. And hopefully it's part of a larger plan for your organization or your business where you have thought some things through and have decided, hey, based on what I know in the moment and what I have seen in the past, this is the decisions that I'm going to make. And I just choose that based on that, I'm going to take this action. And so it's really a matter to me of really contemplating and then making a decision and just choosing to act.
I like that. I struggle with that because there's so much uncertainty in business.
There's uncertainty in everything.
Someone explained to me yesterday, an insurance broker explained to me something that was going on with one of the insurance companies. And she said, hey, there's an opportunity here. These people have to accomplish something. They don't know how to do it. It sounds like you know how to do it. You could help them do it. So this just falls into my lap. So I do some preliminary research to make sure, I don't think she's wrong. I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row. And so I start pursuing it because it's a pretty straightforward thing. I have no idea if it's going to work or not. I don't even know what work is, because work would be helping them do that thing they need to do would be one work, or leading that into other things would be working. So part of what I was thinking about as you were talking was scaling that could be a big part of what I do in the short term. It could be a bigger part of what I do in the long term because it's in an industry I know. But you're right. I have no certainty. In fact, last night I was going through the pros and cons of even pursuing it. It's like, well, this makes, and how much do I invest in it? Do I invest a day? Do I invest a week? Do I invest a month? And I think sometimes we tend to invest like a day and go, oh, that didn't work. Next.
Sure.
And other times we invest everything in it and it doesn't work the way we expected. And then it's like, oh, I spent too much time on that thing. And I think that's really the scaling part that is hardest for me, is figuring out how much to invest in something, an opportunity that presents itself. And there's no answer. You can't answer it. No one can answer that. And that's part of what makes business so difficult, is no one says, hey, Bob, here's the days. Abandon that and do this. And if I spend the next 3 days working on this thing, it's at the exclusion of other things that I've been doing.
Sure.
So I'm making some, if I chase the shiny object, other things don't get done, and that can have an effect. Because who knows, maybe the things I was doing before I got this thing handed to me we're going to work tomorrow, but I'm not going to reach tomorrow because today I decided to shift. Did I make sense in all that?
You did. And I think that's the mindset that many people go through, which is why they get stuck. Because you go through all of that and only to find out that there is no quote unquote right answer, which also means there's no quote unquote wrong answer. There's just an answer that only you can determine. Other people can share feedback, provide feedback. Yet at some point you have to choose, what the actions are and what the things are you're going to prioritize. And in prioritizing things means that you are deprioritizing other things. And that's,
I think sometimes we don't think about the deprioritization of things.
Sure.
It's funny. I talk to people all the time, like, what's getting you right? Oh, I always find something new to do. Oh, really? How often? Oh, at least once a week I shift courses and do something new. And I get that. I'm good at that. And what's great about that, as I realize as I get older, is by constantly shifting to something new, I never have to deal with the old stuff. It's a loose end that never gets completely resolved. So it never works and it never doesn't work. It just sort of hangs in limbo. It's like, well, yeah, I was close on that. And then I started doing this other thing. And then, well, this got in the way. And then I can see how for people, that's much more comforting than I tried this thing and it didn't work. Even though going all the way down the path is probably where you get the most discovery, because for me, when things have gone the way I didn't anticipate, that's when the biggest lessons come along.
Well, and what I would offer is that you haven't decided when the path is going to end. You just choose it randomly. Correct. Based on results that you get, rather than
or anticipate results.
Well, correct.
That you don't get.
Which ultimately is judging your results, right?
Absolutely.
And I think that's the challenge in all of this is, and I'm not going to talk about it because I think it's the topic for tomorrow, okay. Is about the plan. And I think that's the challenge, is so many people don't have a plan, which allows them to do, like you say, look at every shiny object and then chase it as long as they deem the results. They either think they're going to get different results, or they're tired of the results they've gotten and move on to the next new thing.
And often I don't think people understand the results fully.
Well, how can you? If you believe, as I do, that results change with time, how can you ever fully understand the results?
But what I was going to say is I don't think people even fully evaluate the results that they get at that moment.
Well, I think they evaluate them. They just evaluate them differently. And they evaluate them in the moment based on whatever their expected results were. And so now you're making a judgment based on what you thought was going to happen, even though you had no control over it. And then making decisions based on a little bit of feedback.
Yeah, I think so. So do you have your one thing lined up?
I do.
Okay, you want to go first just for giggles? Because I'm still trying to figure it out.
Okay, I can go first. It's going to go back to one of the things I said earlier is there is no time. There is no knowing when. There's contemplating and exploring what your new knowledge, experience, and perspective has been. And then based on that, making a choice of here's a possible action that I could take. I've explored the opportunities and the obstacles, and I am choosing to take that action based on what I know. Not solely based on the opportunity that I see as a part of it or the obstacle that I see as a part of it. That's just part of the feedback as we decide how we are going to prioritize the things that we do.
I like that a lot. I don't know that I can improve on that.
Well, you could do it different.
I don't know that I could, because frankly, I was really listening to it and internalizing it. Because this is a topic that I find fascinating and frustrating at the same time. It's fascinating in the sense that there isn't a perfect answer, yet we're always looking for it. And as a coach, people are constantly asking you, well, should I do this? Should I do that? And you can't give them that answer. I mean, you could give an answer, but you don't really know anything any more than they do. And they probably know a whole lot more than you.
Well, I know different.
And the other side of it is that because there is no answer, it makes what we do in business much more difficult. This is sort of the equivalent of we're all going to die. And we spend our whole lives trying not to think about the fact that we're going to die, even though we all know we're going to die. We just kind of put that to the side. This is sort of like in business, the equivalent, not of dying, but we don't know what's going to happen. We literally have no way of knowing, yet we all want to know. And we go to great lengths to do research, to analyze, to assess, to prepare, to get the best plan, to pick the perfect date, all these things I've said in marketing. And the reality is, at the end of the day, it's not possible.
It's not possible I think it's not possible to believe that you've picked the perfect day. I think it's possible to believe that you have an answer.
Mm-hmm.
And you created an answer. And then you've implemented a plan based on the answer that you've chosen. I mean, I think those are the things that that make it possible. I mean, again, there's always an answer, whether it's my answer that I share with you and you choose to go with it, or it's your answer that you come up with. It's just there's not always as I go back to the quote unquote right or wrong answer. It's just an answer. And I think that that's one of the things that I think is when you feel like you have an answer, or at least have taken the time to calculate and come up with an answer, it's probably the time to then choose to do it.
And don't you think the people who end up being successful, whatever that means, are the ones who can acknowledge that they don't really have an answer? That there isn't a definitive answer, and they adapt to the changes that come along more quickly than the person who spends 3 months going, that was supposed to work. Boy, I thought that was going to work the way I expected to. I was on a call with someone who's an entrepreneur, and he expected an outcome from a meeting, and the meeting went completely opposite. And I thought after we were done the call, he was going to be really upset. And he's like, no. While they were explaining to me why this wasn't a good fit for them, I had already figured out how I was going to resolve that going forward. And I'm
just
like,
stop
wow,
judging it.
this is how this guy's been able to get where he gets, because he didn't pause to go, oh, poor me. Wow, I scaled wrong. The economy was wrong. The world was wrong. They didn't understand. He was like, I've got to do these things differently next time to bridge that gap that I didn't know existed. And it was fascinating for me because I was like, wow, that's probably the true entrepreneur's person can just, okay, setback, move, setback, move. Just like a Navy SEAL, right? Navy SEALs are really good at, here's our plan. We're going to execute our plan. And then when things go haywire, they adapt very quickly to that shift.
Because they
in a way that most of us would be like, whoa, dude, you're out of water. What are you going to do? And they're like, we'll figure it out.
Well, because they've also considered some of that as well. Like they've considered what are all the things that could happen and how might we deal with it, even though they never have any idea of what it's going to be. And I think that's,
well, maybe that's a lesson for us in business, to consider the possibilities. Do we typically spend a lot of time going, okay, what if when I scale, this doesn't go the way I expected? I don't.
well, I think like the person that you talked to about on the phone, they're at the point where they've stopped judging and they've started learning, or they are at the point
very much so.
They're willing to learn what happened and leverage that moving forward rather than judge it, which just keeps them stuck.
I think that's a good assessment. Yeah.
All right, everyone. If you have your one thing, please feel free to put it in the comments, because we know it might be the thing somebody else truly needs to hear today. If you're listening to the podcast and you know there's no place to comment, you can always join us in our Facebook group, Sculpt Your Business, which is also your organization or your own life. That could be your business. From chaos and confusion to confidence and control. You can come in and share your thoughts there and hear the thoughts of others. So we look forward to seeing you in that group. If not, we'll see you tomorrow morning, 7 a.m.-ish Eastern time, for our next episode of Today's Antidote.
Hey, whatever you do, warm weather, cool weather, air conditioning, not air conditioning, even if you're out on the turf like Tom today, embrace the renegading you and hydrate while you do it.
And what should they use to hydrate?
Oh, liquid IV.
Nice. All right, everyone. Go out and enjoy your day. We will see you soon.
Hey, you're thinking, do I need to scale? Do I not need to scale? What's scaling? How could I scale? Those are the questions Tom and I want to help you figure out. Yes, you can find a pathway forward. You can go from the chaos and confusion of where you are now to the confidence and control of where you want to be. It's as easy as getting into a discussion with Tom and me, or me, Tom, either one of us or both, about how you can move forward. Just go to renegadesuccessnetwork.com. You'll see all the details there. We hope to talk to you soon.